First Contact's Aftermath. The holographic display in Admiral Helena Chen's office cast an eerie blue glow across her face as she studied the rotating image of the Mars artifact. Even after 6 months, the sight of it still took her breath away. A perfect dodecahedron of unknown metal, each face etched with symbols that seemed to shift and change when viewed from different angles. The artifact that had changed everything. Another delegation arriving, Admiral, her eye assistant, ARIA, asked as notifications flashed across the display. The third this week, Helena sighed, straightening her uniform. The Galactic Alliance really can't decide whether to court us or contain us. The discovery of the artifact had thrust humanity onto the galactic stage far earlier than anyone had anticipated. While the Alliance's member species had spent millennia carefully advancing along prescribed technological paths, humanity had stumbled upon something that let them take a quantum leap forward. The artifact wasn't just a relic. It was a key that unlocked humanity's unique ability to perceive and manipulate quantum fields in ways the Alliance had deemed impossible. The incoming ship was typical of Alliance design, all sweeping curves and iridescent materials that seemed to bend light itself. As it docked with Olympus Station, Helena couldn't help but compare it to the angular, practical aesthetics of human vessels. Where Alliance ships looked like art pieces, human ships looked like tools. It was a difference in philosophy that ran deeper than mere aesthetics. Ambassador Nexer of the Thorian Collective emerged from the airlock, his crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns that Helena had learned to recognize as anxiety. Behind him, 2 Meridian observers moved with their characteristic fluid grace, their tentacled forms contained within environmental suits. Admiral Chen. Nexer's translated voice carried an edge of urgency. We must discuss the Mars array. Helena kept her expression neutral. The array, humanity's first major project using knowledge gained from the artifact, had been a source of constant concern for the Alliance. A vast network of quantum sensors that somehow functioned outside known physical laws. It had given Earth unprecedented awareness of local space. The array remains a sovereign human installation, Ambassador, Helena replied, leading them to the conference room. As we've discussed previously. You don't understand, one of the Meridian observers interrupted, breaking protocol. Your species is perceiving things that should not be possible to perceive. The array, it's seeing patterns that our most advanced systems cannot detect. This violates fundamental principles of your understanding of physics, Helena completed the thought. But not of physics itself. The conference room's smart surfaces displayed real-time data from the array. To Helena, the patterns were clear, quantum fluctuations that formed distinct signatures, like fingerprints in the fabric of space-time. But to the Alliance representatives, it was apparently just noise. We have concerns about stability, Nexer stated carefully. Your species' rapid advancement has all been achieved through careful research and testing, Helena countered. We're not reckless, Ambassador. We're just different. The word hung in the air. Different. It was becoming increasingly clear that humans didn't just think differently. They perceived reality differently. The artifact hadn't given humanity new technology. It had awakened something that was already there, lying dormant in human DNA. A priority alert flashed across Helena's neural link. The array had detected something new, something big. As she accessed the data, she felt her pulse quicken. The quantum signatures were forming a pattern she'd never seen before. A massive disturbance approaching Alliance space. Ambassador, Helena said slowly, I think we're about to have a much more important conversation than the one you came here for. She brought up the array's data on the main display. To her, it showed clear evidence of an approaching threat, like seeing storm clouds gathering on the horizon. But the Alliance representatives stared at the display in confusion. I see nothing unusual, Nexer stated. Exactly, Helena replied. And that's the problem. Something's coming. Something huge. And only humanity can see it. The question is, will you trust us enough to help you prepare for it? The silence that followed was deafening. In that moment, Helena realized that humanity's role in the galaxy was about to change dramatically. They weren't just new players on the galactic stage. They were sentinels who could perceive threats that the oldest spacefaring civilizations couldn't. The artifact had chosen humanity for a reason. As she looked at the bewildered Alliance representatives, Helena wondered if they were finally ready to accept that some rules were meant to be broken, some paths meant to be forged rather than followed. The array's warning continued to pulse in her mind, a countdown to a crisis that only humanity could see coming. First Contact's aftermath was about to give way to something far more challenging, and humanity would need to convince a suspicious galaxy to trust their impossible perceptions. The quantum disruption. Dr. Maya Patel stood in the heart of the Quantum Interpretation Center, surrounded by streams of data that only human minds could properly parse. The facility, built into the lunar bedrock, hummed with the combined processing power of thousands of quantum cores, technology that had emerged from humanity's unique understanding of the artifact's principles. "We're tracking multiple anomalies now," she reported, her hands moving through the holographic interface. "Whatever's approaching, it's causing ripples in the quantum fabric that we've never seen before." General Santos of the Earth Defense Force studied the data with a frown. Unlike the Alliance representatives who saw only static, he could perceive the patterns, swirling distortions that reminded him of predatory movements. "They're coordinated," he observed. "This isn't a natural phenomenon." The Alliance Security Council had dismissed their warnings 3 weeks ago. Now, as the quantum disruptions intensified, Earth stood alone in its preparation for what was coming. The Mars array had been joined by 5 additional sensor networks, each confirming what humanity could already sense: something vast and ancient was awakening. A flash of light announced the arrival of Ambassador Nexer via quantum teleporter, another technology that had scandalized the Alliance when humanity unveiled it. His crystalline form vibrated with what Maya had learned to recognize as extreme agitation. "Multiple Alliance worlds have gone dark," he announced without preamble. "Our conventional sensors detect nothing wrong, but all communication has ceased. The Council—" He paused, his crystal lattice dimming slightly. "The Council requests Earth's assistance." Maya and General Santos exchanged glances. After months of warnings, the Alliance was finally ready to listen, but only after losing contact with several worlds. "Show me the affected systems," Maya commanded, and the holographic display shifted to a galactic map. The pattern of silent worlds formed a distinctive shape, one that matched the quantum disturbances they'd been tracking. "It's not random," she explained, highlighting the pattern. "These systems form a grid. Whatever's causing this, it's systematic, methodical. It's mapping the galaxy using the quantum field itself." "Impossible," Nexer objected. "The quantum field cannot be manipulated on that scale. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical by your understanding," General Santos interrupted. "But we've learned that the quantum field doesn't work the way the Alliance thinks it does. It's not just a background phenomenon. It's a framework, a foundation that can be reshaped by those who understand its true nature." Maya brought up new data from the Mars array. "The artifact didn't give us new technology, Ambassador. It showed us how to see what was already there. Humanity evolved on a world that sits at a quantum crossroads, a nexus point where the barriers between quantum states are naturally thinner. We developed the ability to perceive these states as a survival mechanism." The display showed Earth's unique position in the galactic quantum framework, a node in a vast, previously invisible network. "Your people have been studying the stars for millennia," Maya continued, "but you've been looking at them wrong. The physical universe is just the surface. The real action happens in the quantum underlayer." A priority alert flashed across their displays. Another Alliance world had gone silent. But this time, the Mars array caught something new, a glimpse of what was moving through the quantum field. The image it reconstructed sent chills down Maya's spine. Vast geometric shapes, eerily similar to the Mars artifact, but on a planetary scale, were emerging from quantum space. They moved with purpose, their very presence distorting the fabric of reality around them. Those patterns, Nexar whispered, finally seeing what humans could perceive naturally. They match ancient warnings in our archives, warnings we never fully understood. Because you couldn't see what they were trying to show you, General Santos said grimly. But we can, and now we know why the artifact chose humanity. We're not just observers of the quantum realm. We're meant to be its defenders. Maya's fingers flew over the interface, correlating data from all 6 sensor arrays. The disruptions are accelerating. Whatever these entities are, they're not just mapping our galaxy, they're preparing it for something. The quantum field is being reshaped, restructured according to their design. How long? Nexar asked, his crystalline form pulsing with fear frequencies. At the current rate, Maya checked her calculations twice. We have less than 72 hours before the restructuring reaches a critical point. After that, the very laws of physics in our region of space could be rewritten. General Santos straightened. Decision made. Then we have 72 hours to prove that humanity's reckless approach to advancement was exactly what this galaxy needed. Ambassador, we'll need full access to Alliance resources. It's time to show your people why the rules sometimes need to be broken. The quantum disruptions continued to spread across the galaxy like cracks in reality itself. But for the first time since detecting the threat, Maya felt a glimmer of hope. Humanity had evolved to see this enemy coming. Now they would show the galaxy why that mattered. The silent invasion. Commander Sarah Wu watched from the bridge of the EDS Prometheus as another Alliance world went dark. The massive quantum projector screens that lined the bridge showed what conventional sensors couldn't, cascading waves of distortion that consumed entire solar systems, leaving them transformed at the quantum level. 36 hours since first contact with the entities, her XO, James Rodriguez, reported. We've lost contact with 27 Alliance worlds. The quantum restructuring is accelerating. The Prometheus represented humanity's answer to an impossible threat, a ship built to operate in both normal and quantum space. Its hull bristled with technologies that the Alliance had deemed theoretical at best, impossible at worst. Now it led a desperate defensive effort against an enemy that most species couldn't even perceive. The Meridian fleet is in position, Rodriguez continued, though they're still having trouble maintaining formation in these quantum conditions. Sarah nodded, watching the Alliance ships struggle against distortions they could barely detect. The Meridians were among the most advanced species in the Alliance, yet here they were, relying on human guidance to navigate their own space. New signal from the Mars array, the Quantum Ops officer announced. Dr. Patel's team has finished their analysis of the entity patterns. The main display shifted, showing a complex overlay of quantum signatures. To Sarah's enhanced perception, it told a story that made her blood run cold. They're not invaders, she realized. They're caretakers. Mom. These entities, they're like gardeners. The quantum disruptions aren't random. They're pruning, reshaping, preparing. She highlighted a particular pattern. See this. It's not destruction. It's reformation. They're trying to restore the quantum framework of the galaxy to some previous state. A flash of quantum displacement announced the arrival of Ambassador Nexar on the bridge. By now, the crew barely reacted to the crystalline diplomat's sudden appearances. The Council has completed their review of the ancient archives, he announced. We found references to something called the Great Correction, a cyclic event that occurs every 50,000 years. Our ancestors recorded warnings, but without the ability to perceive quantum space. The warnings were incomplete, Sarah finished. But why now? What triggered them? Dr. Maya Patel's hologram materialized next to Nexar. We found something in the artifact's code. The entities aren't just reshaping space. They're responding to what they see as contamination. The Alliance's rigid technological development protocols. They were actually causing quantum stagnation, preventing natural evolution of the quantum framework. Sarah felt the pieces clicking into place. That's why the artifact chose humanity. We don't just perceive quantum space, we interact with it naturally, organically. We're not bound by the same limitations. Commander, Rodriguez's voice cut through her revelation. Multiple quantum signatures emerging near the Centauri colonies. The display shifted, showing massive geometric forms rising from quantum space into normal reality. They were beautiful in their complexity, their surfaces covered in shifting patterns that reminded Sarah of the Mars artifact. All Alliance ships, maintain position, she ordered. This is first contact with a Type IA civilization. We do this wrong. There won't be a second chance. The entities moved with impossible grace, their very presence causing ripples in both quantum and normal space. As they approached, Sarah felt something she hadn't expected. Recognition. Not of the forms themselves, but of their purpose. They're not trying to destroy us, she breathed. They're trying to wake us up. The quantum framework. It's like a nervous system for the galaxy. The Alliance's rigid protocols were putting it into stasis. Humanity's quantum sensitivity, our chaotic approach to advancement. We're like an evolutionary catalyst. Commander, Maya's hologram interjected. The Mars array is picking up new patterns. The entities, they're trying to communicate. The quantum signatures shifted, forming patterns that resonated with something deep in Sarah's genetic memory. Humanity hadn't just evolved the ability to perceive quantum space. They'd evolved to communicate with its caretakers. Open a quantum channel, she ordered. Full spectrum, no filters. Let's show them humanity knows how to adapt. As the Prometheus initiated contact with entities that had existed since the dawn of the galaxy, Sarah realized that humanity's real role was neither conqueror nor defender. They were translators, bridges between the rigid order of the Alliance and the fluid chaos of quantum space. The entity's response came not in words or images, but in quantum fluctuations that Sarah somehow understood perfectly. They weren't here to destroy civilization. They were here to preserve it from its own stagnation. And humanity, with their unique abilities and unconventional development, held the key to ensuring that preservation didn't become extinction. Tell the Alliance Council, she commanded, the real first contact is about to begin. And this time, we're all going to have to learn some new rules. Breaking protocol. The Grand Chamber of the Alliance Council had never seen anything like this. Where once stood the traditional hierarchical arrangement of species representatives, now a massive quantum interface dominated the space, its swirling patterns casting ethereal light across the gathered delegates. At its center, Admiral Helena Chen stood alongside Commander Sarah Wu, facing down 12,000 years of galactic tradition. The entities call themselves the Architects, Helena explained, manipulating the quantum display to show the vast geometric forms now positioned throughout Alliance space. They're not our enemies. They're our predecessors, and they've been waiting for a species like humanity to evolve. The council chamber erupted in overlapping translations as dozens of species tried to process this information simultaneously. First speaker Lyra, a being of pure energy, moved forward. You propose we abandon 12 millennia of carefully structured technological progression. Lyra's thoughts resonated through the chamber, in favor of what you call adaptive evolution. The risks of not changing are greater, Sarah interrupted, bringing up new data from the Prometheus. The quantum framework isn't just a background phenomenon. It's a living system. The architects built it as a foundation for life itself to evolve. But the Alliance's rigid protocols have been slowly killing it. Dr. Maya Patel's hologram appeared beside them, her hands moving through complex quantum equations that only the humans could fully comprehend. Look at the data. Every world the architects have corrected shows increased quantum activity. They're not destroying these systems, they're reactivating them. The display shifted to show a before and after comparison of an affected world. Where the Alliance saw chaos, the humans saw a blossoming of quantum potential, like a frozen river suddenly flowing free. Your species cannot even perceive these changes directly, a Thorian delegate objected. How can we trust? A massive quantum surge interrupted the protest. Throughout the chamber, quantum interfaces that had been installed at humanity's insistence suddenly blazed with new patterns. The architects were done waiting. "They're initiating full contact," Sarah announced, her enhanced senses interpreting the quantum signals. "Not just with us, with all of you. Ambassador Nexer, remember how we helped you see the quantum patterns? We need to do that for everyone. Now." Nexer's crystalline form vibrated with concern. "The quantum integration protocols you suggested, they're untested. To attempt this on such a scale is exactly what we need to do," Helena finished. "The architects aren't going to wait for committee approval. Either we help the Alliance species adapt, or they'll be left behind in what comes next." The quantum surge intensified. Through the new interfaces, the assembled delegates began to see ghostly images, echoes of the quantum realm that humanity perceived naturally. Many recoiled in shock. Some fell into contemplative silence. A few began to understand. "The human quantum integration protocols are ready," Maya reported, "but they'll need to be modified for each species. We'll need volunteers." "I volunteer." Nexer stepped forward, his crystal structure already beginning to resonate with the quantum frequencies. "The Thorian Collective will not hide from evolution." One by one, other delegates stepped forward. The Meridians, the Zeth, even the energy beings of the Lyran confluence, each recognizing that change was no longer optional. Sarah moved to the central interface, her quantum-enhanced consciousness connecting directly with the architect's communications. "They're offering us a choice," she translated. "Not just humanity, but all of us. We can remain as we are, bound by rigid protocols and blind to the quantum realm, or we can evolve together." The process began immediately, as human scientists worked with Alliance specialists, adapting the quantum integration protocols for each species. The architects shared more of their purpose. They were not simply caretakers, but gardeners of consciousness itself, nurturing species toward a greater understanding of reality. Humanity's role became clear. They were catalysts, evolved specifically to bridge the gap between conventional space and the quantum realm. Their chaotic development, their inability to follow rigid protocols, their unique perceptions, all were necessary traits for what was to come. "The quantum framework isn't just a foundation," Helena explained to the Council as the integration protocols spread throughout Alliance space. "It's a path to something greater. The architects built it as a road, but each species has to choose to walk it." As the first successfully integrated Alliance citizens began to perceive the quantum realm clearly, their reactions ranged from terror to wonder. But none could deny the truth anymore. The galaxy was more complex, more alive, than any of their protocols had allowed them to imagine. The breaking of protocol, as it would come to be known, marked the beginning of a new era. Humanity had done more than save the Alliance from stagnation. They had shown them a new way forward, a path that combined the wisdom of the architects with the innovative spirit of Earth. But as the integration continued, new patterns emerged in the quantum realm, patterns that suggested the architect's return was more than a simple course correction. Something larger was coming, something that would require all species, human and alien alike, to embrace their full potential. The true test was about to begin. The new order. The quantum cascade spread across the galaxy like a wave of awakening consciousness. From the core worlds to the outer rim, species that had once been bound by rigid protocols began to perceive the true nature of their universe. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Commander Sarah Wu watched the transformation through both physical and quantum senses. Integration protocols have reached 87% effectiveness across Alliance space, Maya's hologram reported. The architects are pleased. The massive geometric forms of the architects hung in quantum space around vital nexus points, their presence now visible to most Alliance species thanks to humanity's integration protocols. But their satisfaction with the transformation came with a warning, one that only humanity had fully grasped. They're not just here to wake us up. Sarah said, studying the quantum patterns that flowed between the ancient beings. They're preparing us for something. Admiral Helena Chen nodded, her own quantum-enhanced senses picking up the underlying urgency in the architect's communications. The quantum framework isn't just a foundation for life, it's a shield. And something's been testing it. The main quantum display shifted, showing patterns that extended far beyond the galaxy's edge. In the newly awakened Alliance species, these patterns triggered ancestral memories, racial fears passed down through countless generations. The Void Dancers, first speaker Lyra manifested in the bridge, her energy form now interwoven with quantum patterns. Our oldest legends speak of them, beings from between spaces who consume quantum potential itself. That's what the rigid protocols were really about. Ambassador Nexer realized, his crystalline form resonating with new understanding. Our ancestors didn't create them to prevent chaos. They created them to hide us. But hiding was never going to work forever, Sarah explained. The architects didn't build the quantum framework just to support life. They built it as a defense network. And now, they need us to help maintain it. The quantum sensors suddenly flared with activity. At the galaxy's edge, something was emerging from the deep void. Shapes that defied both physical and quantum laws, their very presence causing reality to shudder. The Void Dancers, Helena breathed. They sensed the awakening. All Alliance ships, battle positions, Sarah commanded. But this wasn't going to be a conventional fight. The Void Dancers existed partially outside normal space-time. They couldn't be defeated with ordinary weapons. The architects are moving, Maya reported. They're creating something, a pattern in quantum space. The geometric forms of the architects began to shift, arranging themselves in configurations that resonated with the quantum framework itself. As they moved, they left trails of heightened quantum activity, like neural pathways being activated across the galaxy. It's a network, Sarah realized. They're creating a quantum defense grid, but they need anchors, consciousness to maintain it. That's why they needed us to evolve, Helena said. Not just humanity, but all species. The framework needs active participants, minds that can perceive and interact with quantum space. The Void Dancers approached, their impossible forms causing cascading failures in conventional sensors. But to the quantum-enhanced perceptions of the awakened species, their patterns were clear and vulnerable. All Alliance ships, link quantum systems, Sarah ordered. Focus your consciousness through the framework. The architects will show us how. Across the galaxy, thousands of ships and billions of minds joined in an unprecedented merger of consciousness and technology. The quantum framework blazed with activity as each species contributed its unique perspective, its particular way of perceiving reality. The architect's purpose became clear. They hadn't built the framework to control or restrict. They'd built it as a tool, waiting for the galaxy's species to evolve enough to use it. Humanity's chaotic development, their natural quantum sensitivity, had been the key to unlocking everyone's potential. The Void Dancers struck, their attack rippling through multiple layers of reality. But where once they would have found isolated, vulnerable worlds, now they met a unified defense. The combined consciousness of the Alliance species, guided by humanity's intuitive understanding and amplified by the architect's ancient technology, transformed the quantum framework into an impenetrable shield. The battle lasted both an instant and an eternity in quantum space. When it ended, the Void Dancers had been repelled, their attempt to feed on the galaxy's quantum potential thwarted by the very diversity they had sought to consume. In the aftermath, as the Alliance species began to explore their new capabilities, the architects shared their final message. They weren't leaving. They were passing on their role. The galaxy's species, led by humanity's example, would become the new caretakers of the quantum framework. It was never about following the right protocols, Sarah reflected, watching the quantum patterns settle into new, more vibrant configurations. It was about learning to adapt, to change, to grow. Humanity didn't break the rules. We showed everyone why the rules needed to evolve. The new order that emerged wasn't based on rigid hierarchies or predetermined paths. Instead, it celebrated the unique perspectives and abilities of each species, recognizing that true strength lay in diversity. The quantum framework, once hidden from most species' perception, became a shared space of innovation and discovery. Humanity's role transformed from upstart newcomers to teachers and interpreters, helping other species understand their own quantum potential. The Alliance Protocols, once treated as sacred law, evolved into flexible guidelines that encourage rather than restricted growth. The galaxy had awakened, and the dance of creation continued, not in locked steps, but in free, ever-changing patterns that reflected the true nature of existence itself. Unity through diversity, strength through adaptation, growth through change. The new constants of a quantum age.